Alrighty, I'll make a motion to come out of executive session at 5:27.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And just for the record, had discussions on all the topics and no votes were taken. And appreciate everybody's patience as we flowed through some important topics. So we will move next to the approval of minutes of the June 28th regular BOS meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the June 28th regular Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
Second.
Go ahead. That's you, Glenn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is correspondence. So we have a number of items. One was an email regarding the second annual Lime Rock Epic Bike Tour. That's just a housekeeping. It's an annual bike tour they do, and I just needed to sign off on the DOT permit, which I did. Next was a letter from resident Elaine Friedman, and I know Mike is on the call. Mike Doherty, thanks Mike for being here. So Mike Doherty from SLR, Rick and I did a site walk, I think it was last week, of the property to review the conditions and her concerns. I emailed her just to follow up, and Mike is working on, Mike, if you want to jump in here, he'll be working with Mather to come up with a plan for correcting the pathway and the soil issue there. Mike, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much summarizes. So I've been in touch with the foreman, project manager, Mike Diaz from Mather. He's on vacation this week, but he has reached out to a few different masons, one of them which being one that was supplied to us by the town, just to see who would be available to do some of the corrective work out there, because they're not really masons on their crew. So we'll be moving forward with that, hopefully within the next week or two, as long as we could find someone who could perform the work. Mather would then sub it to them, and then they can also get their landscaper out there to correct the soil issue. So we'll be stripping her the topsoil that was put there, reseeding it, and getting that lawn established.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. And the last was an email from John Russell regarding the maximum tax abatement for Kent responders. And John, did you have any further comment on that?
Hi, Jane. Yeah, thanks. I think we're really hopeful that an agenda of collaboration can happen among the town employees. Thank you for posting the legal opinion, but it was a little confusing that the Board of Selectmen were not notified of any concerns about this from the tax collector. But we're very hopeful that they're moving forward. There can be a kind of a sentiment of collaboration. Let's work together, try to figure this out and communicate with one another. Thank you.
Thanks. And then we also had a letter from attorney Michael Sconiers regarding a piece of property that was to be gifted by Lloyd Albin in his will. and that's in the folder. So the question is in the letter, and we won't rule on it. I mean, we won't decide on it tonight, but the question was, they would like to gift us, the family would like to gift us this small piece of property. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think I have it on the assessor's map. Oh, let's see.
So I had a question or two. Why would they be doing that? And what benefit does the town get out of it? Do they have land adjoining this? If so, are they just taking problematic land away from
So you can see
what they
the
have to deal with?
piece of property. So this is Cedar Mountain Road. Kent is this way, Warren is at the right. This is Kenmont Road, and there's this is the property. It's 0.05 acres. And it was in his estate that it be donated to the town. Right now, Jen, I can't see everybody because we're on screen share. Jen, if you could, I don't mean to ask out of turn. Do you know if this property, so this property is owned by Mr. Albin, so we have an easement for the road, or maybe Rick, you would know?
I don't know about an easement. I just know that that's always been the pass through from 341 to Kenmont to get to the camp.
It's still private property. We don't, the road doesn't go through there.
The Kenmont Road doesn't go through there?
No.
No.
Kenmont Road starts at Davis Road,
So what is this part of the road called?
called Albin's Bypass. It's a private passageway. Yeah.
Shortcut.
So,
So the town has not had to maintain it at all?
No,
So we'd be adding to having to maintain it, or we simply close it down?
no, we would probably fix it up and pave it. So that would be the access from to Kenmont instead of up on Davis, going on Davis Road.
How much would it cost to pave it? Roughly.
I don't know, it's only maybe 125 feet long or something like that. Wouldn't be very much to pave it, but we'd have to improve the drainage there, so.
Hmm.
I mean, you could leave it the way it is, but it keeps washing out during real heavy storms, so.
The rest of the road going in, Rick, is that what we take care of?
We take care of everything from Davis Road around through Kenmont.
back.
Kenneco.
So is this a benefit to you guys? If we, I mean, would it actually make your job easier?
It'll be easier access to Kenmont Road, and people wouldn't have to drive down Davis then. And Davis is almost like one lane on most of it, so you meet somebody there, one of you gotta get out of the way. So instead of everybody from the camp going out. They'd be, I mean, right now, the people that work at the camp and stuff go straight through there because it's their property, Lloyd's property, but
Right.
the public's not supposed to use it. And many of them do, but. So it would add to Kenmont Road, just be a direct access right to 341.
Huh.
which would in theory alleviate the additional use of Davis Road.
Well, it'd be easier for trucks and stuff and fire vehicles and stuff to get in there for sure. If they're going to anywhere out in Davis or Gorham or Kenmont or Gorham Road.
So in the converse, if we think about it as we graciously declined this gift, then the estate would likely sell it to a private owner, right? They would put it on the market and they would sell it. And then we would, then all access potentially would have to go on Davis Road to get up Kenmont.
Yes. And I don't think anybody except for one of the adjoining property owners there would buy it. So,
Right.
Yeah, what can you do with 0.05 acres?
Well, either side, it looks like there's two property owners on one side and one property owner on the other side. They could easily increase their property by 0.05 acres and tear up the road and let it go back to nature. And then we would be forcing every camper, every vendor that accesses the camp, all to use Davis Road to access the camp and Kenmont Road, which would be adding a lot of traffic to a very little backcountry dirt road.
So there is a benefit. And so if we accept it, we still have it. Accept the gift, then we could improve the road or shut it down the road, either one.
right.
So my questions were answered. Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
So because it doesn't,
Okay. Go ahead. I was just going to say on behalf of the town, I think we should agree to accept the offer of tax lot 1623-6 from the Alvin estate.
so it looks like because we're in a special meeting, that we'll need to make that motion at a separate meeting. So I'll get back to him and let the attorney know that we have consensus agreement to move forward.
Well, Glenn,
Well, I haven't said too much here about this. Yeah, I'd like to just take a look at it. I'm going to drive by it and ask a few more questions. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm interested in the town pursuing this. I still want to assess the pros and cons, but this will take another meeting, I think.
Righty. And now we'll move on to public comment, and I see Ed, you've got your hand up.
I was just gonna say that in the old days, Lloyd Albin used to close that off one day a year in order to keep it private, the road. And it is a major benefit to the town, in my opinion, just getting all the big truck traffic and garbage trucks off of Davis Road would save the town a fortune on that dirt road path, and I would highly recommend accepting it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Do we have any other electronic hands up for public comment this go around? Don't see anybody. All right, we will continue moving along. So tax refunds, I did not see any in the folder, so I believe we do not have any. The treasurer's report, I believe, is in the folder. I don't see Barbara on the call. Shout out if I missed you. under old business, we have the draft updated Town of Kent Ordinance 18.7 tax abatement ordinance for volunteer emergency services personnel. The latest draft is in the folder. There are two minor changes. So section 4 was the last at the June 8th, I believe it was, meeting. There was discussion about the section 4 language where that included the town being involved with the fire department's SOP process. As they explained it, it's a cumbersome process anyway. And so when I was talking to town council, what we came up with was to remove that language for us to have to meet with them before they can submit their amended SOPs. And what we did instead was added the language that down in section 4, it's the green, where it says the KVFD shall submit by delivery of hard copy or email the amended SOP to the board within 30 days of adoption by the members. And then we added the submission should include supporting documentation that clearly explains what was amended. So that's so the Board of Selectmen, when we get the new document, we know these are the changes that the fire department made so that we have better visibility on where it was and what the changes were that they wanted to make. So that was one edit. The other came out of the Board of Finance meeting the other night, which was to add language that the ordinance shall be retroactive to when the amended statutory language was in effect. And I had an email from Randy. I was asking him for more fleshed out language, but is he still on the call? I don't think he is. I think he had to run off. I'm not sure what he meant in his email. And I think he was referencing the section of the statutes and not this one sentence that we wanted to update. So I'm going to have to go back and get more detail from him. So at the Board of Finance meeting, the town auditor in part of his comments suggested that we add in a clause that it be retroactive so that the fire department members who are eligible could get the back abatements. Because that statute was changed a couple of years ago. But I'll have to clarify the wording with him.
So that goes for when they bumped it up to 1,500 and
then 2,000.
yeah, okay.
So I'll come back on that.
So Gene, in this version, unlike previous versions where it had the tax abatement going up to 2,000, I mean, there are actually numbers in previous versions. There's none in this one.
No, that was find where I just lost track of where I was. So there was a lot of back and forth conversation, and what we ended up with was in that one the section 1 where it says for an abatement in property taxes in an amount not to exceed the amount as may be authorized by Connecticut General Statutes 12-81W as from time to time amended. So rather than having the limiting number of what it is now, it's referencing just I don't know what the term is, but it's a direct reference back to the statutes.
So if the statute should change in the future, there'll be less pressure on us to change the language of the ordinance, which we've been trying to do for months. Okay.
Correct. So these were the last two items, and hopefully in the next couple of days, I can get that last sentence fleshed out with town council.
Dara's got her hand up. I'd like to hear what she has to say. And then I have a question for John Russell, if that's all right.
Sure, Dark.
So just to clarify the answer to Glenn's question, yes, the way that's written, it allows for the amount to be up to based on the statute change. But it also, so as we've discussed before, the amounts are going to be controlled by the SOP that are then filed by the fire department. Their SOP lists, which is guided by their point structure, are going to say whether it's, depending on when amounts change, they're going to then say it's 1,000 versus 2,000 or 2,000 versus whatever. So it's not just, that statement's not just referring to if a statute changes, it's also controlled by another part of the ordinance, which talks about the approval of the SOP and if it's amended. And if they change their point structure, if they change their amounts, which is what we're dealing with at this point, based on the amendment, the fire department has now chosen to offer the veterans a different amount than the current active members based on qualifying points. So I think it's an important clarification, because just because the statute changes and changes the dollar amount, up to is the key word. It does not define that we have to. And it's also in agreement with the fire department and what they're requesting in support of their SOP filing. That is my opinion.
Because the SOP is an important part of the whole ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, John Russell, how is this language? I mean, we've talked about a few additions of this this ordinance. I mean, you've been talking with the KBFD. I mean, how are people feeling better with this version, do you think? Or would feel better?
Oh, sorry. This version is pretty new, but it certainly is a long way. We've come a long way with it. And I think that the number 4 seems workable. The membership hasn't had or the executive committee hasn't had a chance to respond to this, but yeah, this is a lot of progress here.
Okay, because I wasn't sure where this was going today, and having been at the Board of Finance meeting and hearing all that conversation, I was hoping to see a draft, a new draft at this meeting, which here it is. I was wondering if we, as a Board of Selectmen, were willing to move on this, because in the end, we do have to go to a town meeting to approve this. And there has been so much back and forth. There has been so much frustration about this particular issue. I would like, with all speed, we need to do this.
Yep.
Now, soon.
Yes.
I would like to.
We're all in agreement on that.
Okay. So just, so I don't know if we, where do we want to go with this?
I just need to get a complete sentence from town council on the retroactive part, and then we can include it in the one of the upcoming special meetings that we're going to be having in the next couple of weeks.
We're going to have a few. So, okay.
Yes.
I feel comfortable with that, as long as we don't wait until the next regular meeting, which is now
No.
a special meeting because we changed it on the 30th. I would just like to see this done, because I don't want to hear what I heard at that Board of Finance meeting again. We have to move and act. So, so thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thanks. So moving on to 9.2, draft updated job descriptions. The first one is the assessor's assistant. And that had a couple of minor tweaks. I had added under the purpose, I had added into provide administrative support to the office of the assessor. Jen, were there any other really remarkable changes? I don't.
Nope. I'm just be glad to get it done and approved.
Yes. So if we're ready, I'll move to make that motion. to approve the updated Town of Kent Assessor's Assistant job description as submitted.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All,
I'm okay.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank you. The next is the recreation aid job description, which I believe was approved at last night's commission meeting. And so this came to us a month ago, I believe. And we sent it back to them for the hours of work, because this is a little bit unique in that that a rec aide may work during the school year for 10 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours a week, but then will come up to working 25 or 30 hours a week for camp during the two months-ish of camp. So what the commission approved the other night was what you see in the document. This is a part-time per diem position with hours generally not exceeding 20 during the school year and generally not exceeding 40 during the summer. All employees will be scheduled in a manner compliant with the employee handbook parameters. For part-time employees, this position may involve overnight and or weekend hours. So this takes
it.
the ASP job description and I think it was called a camp counselor job description, and creates this more, what's really a job classification of this recreation aid. Heading in a good direction. Rufus, I'm hearing the thunder here and then I hear it at your house.
At my house as well.
So I'll make a motion to approve the recreation aid job description as approve the recreation aid job description approved by the Park and Rec Commission.
Second. Third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So next is 9.3, approval of streetscape phase 1 change orders. And Mike Doherty, you're still on the line, right? Yes.
Yep.
Thanks. So long ago, early last summer, we had the change order for the curb that we voted on. So it was agreed that we needed to vote on the rest of the change orders. One of the lessons learned in phase 1 that we will get right in phase 2 is this process for change orders. And the next first selectman will hopefully dig into creating a process for this and work with SLR. But for now, because we did that one, we need to approve the balance of the change orders, which is it 5, Mike, change orders? So, and I'm just going to list them out. The salt guard was change order 2. The loop detectors was 3. The crack seal was 4. There was a time and materials that was 5. And I believe there's one more for the is that 39 North Main Street, Pantages, the flagstone that we had to, that Mather, we
Yep.
had to do some adjustments on.
Yeah, that was another time and material ticket.
Okay. So how would the board like to make this motion? Do we want to do all 5 separately? Do we want to do them as one to approve the change orders? Again, this is really a housekeeping because we did it for change order number 1.
Mike, could you just quickly go through why the change orders are occurring?
Sure. So change order number 2 is a salt guard protection, which is a spray on protective coating that is used to protect the concrete from de-icing salts. So we did not have that in the specification for the project, so it was an add-on service for Mather.
Sounds good.
That is all sidewalks, any new pours of concrete gets that coating applied. And that was for $30,461. The change order number 3 was loop detector work, which was at the corner of 341 and North Main, right near the monument. And that was work pretty much kind of dictated by the state, since we were cutting the asphalt and the curbing, taking out the curbing, doing the work near the loop detectors. They wanted to upgrade and replace those. And so that was for $23,939.86. Change order 4 was crack sealing all of the, basically along the curb lines where we cut the existing asphalt roadway. The state again told us that we had to come back and seal those with the liquid bitumen.
Okay.
So that was for the amount of $13,449.17. And then, so we also had change order number 5, which was a series of what we call tickets, time and material. And these are things that occurred different times during construction that we tracked as something that wasn't either foreseen or on the plan. So for instance, there was a traffic box that was underneath the existing sidewalk. So when they demoed the sidewalk, that traffic box was picked up and raised. So that was
An extra, yeah.
an extra. Yeah, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have had 12 of these time and material extras. I can run through all of them. I don't know.
No, I just wanted, that's fine, unless Glenn wants it. No.
Okay. So with that and the work of the patio at Pantage's Jewelry, we are currently, let's see. Well, I have this first change order still in that amount.
I have $94,062.30.
Yeah, that sounds, I was gonna say it's just under 100,000, yeah. And so that includes all work to date. So at the end of December was the last pay requisition that was approved. There's been cleanup work in the year of 2023. There is a pay application in to us right now that has not been approved yet. We have some questions on, but the bulk of the work has been done since the end of last year. So basically in 23, we've been dealing with some punch list items and a few properties that, requested some work to be redone or fixed up. One being the property that sent in the letter, I think 43 North Main. So we still have that work to do in terms of repairing the sidewalk and her lawn. Otherwise, there is no other outstanding work that I'm aware of. So right now, there's probably going to be one more pay application after the one we have for time up until the end of June. So we are currently at a total contract amount of just over 1.9 million. We have just over 1.8 million of work completed and stored to date. That includes retainage, which is about $90,000. And I don't foresee, a whole lot of work necessary. And so there's a good amount of items where we've, some we've gone over, others we haven't used completely. So we won't be using the total contract amount of the 1.9. There's going to be, $120,000 probably left that is not going to be used.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
No problem.
So Ed, if I put it in the chat, if you don't mind, can you hang on until we get to public comment in a little bit? Or is it something you really need to pop in here for?
Me, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just, if Mike's on the phone, I'm wondering when the concrete is going to be finished in front of the Firefly Inn.
I'll get to that in a second. I spoke with the property owner just today.
Okay.
So are we, I'd like to make those, get those change orders approved. So are we good to make one motion for all the change orders?
So just to say, this was a total of $94,000. So work's been
More or
done.
less, a little more.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve change orders 2 through 6. Totaling $94,062.39.
Second.
Thank you. All those in, any more questions, Glenn or Rufus? Alrighty, all those in favor?
So just to say, the next time around for phase 2, we've learned a few things now, and
Yes,
we will
yes,
probably have less, hopefully less. I mean, there's always surprises, but we'll have less change orders perhaps for phase 2.
Yeah, I would say the salt guard is an easy one. The biggest one is some of the things the state kind of put on to us after the fact, because the inspectors that deal with this district didn't review the plan, so their process didn't help us out necessarily. The people reviewing it weren't the guys that were going to be out there day to day. So yeah, we learned a number of things, and yeah, there should be less.
and unfortunately, we're still going to be working extensively with DOT for phase 2.
Sure.
But now that we all know,
Mhm.
we can, and I think we have a better and different relationship going into phase 2, because we have that consultant that is paid for by DOT, who is specifically assigned to us to be our liaison to DOT. That the extensive reviews that were done for phase 1, I think we'll be able to look at it with a little different lens and make sure that the district, and so there's no surprises like
Yeah.
on this.
The review process for the TAP grant is different. It's more stringent, and it's not just District 4 maintenance looking at the plans. So yeah, it's a bit different for the TAP grant. The guys for the inspection side of things are great. They were great to work with from the state. It's just that they had their own things that they needed and wanted done where they didn't get rolled into the review. So it was just kind of almost like a disconnect on the DOT side, unfortunately. But they were very helpful. They're really good to work with. So you guys are actually lucky. They're not every district has those guys.
All righty, so we'll vote on that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So
Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
the Ed, to your question, there's that small section of concrete in front of the Firefly. So the property owner had to do additional work for, I believe, Ty helped me out, or someone from sewer. There was a sewer connection, and now there's another connection that has to be made. But their contractor is in touch with Rick, and who is the connector to SLR, to make sure that they meet the spec that they have to meet for that little piece of sidewalk that will need to be reinstalled.
So don't you think the sidewalk should be closed there then, since it's an uneven, not level space for people to be walking or putting a wheelchair over?
Rick, can we get something to, I don't know if it's a piece of plywood, I don't know how you would cover that so that we make sure that the pedestrian traffic can go through.
I'll ask him to put a finer gravel on there or something. If you put plywood on, it's gonna be loose. And if it
Right. And if it
close
rains-
it, they have to direct them out into the roadway and then.
Right, which I think is probably less. We definitely don't want to do that. So you'll contact their folks.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
9.4, the Kent Town Center reimbursement. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. I will reach out again and see if I can get an answer on that. 9.5, the Deep Sustainable Materials Management Grant and Food Scrap Pilot Program update. Rick, if you want to, can you give us a quick or lengthy update? We've been getting a lot of pictures of people's composting bins, and there's a lot of excitement and buzz from what I'm seeing and hearing, which is exciting.
Oh, last Saturday, Sunday was the first time we accepted any of it. Filled up 3 of the 7 containers that we have. So as we go into this week, we'll find out if people have been saving it for a long time or if it's going to be that way every week. Been selling a lot of permits each weekend. We're up to probably 350, I think, or something like that. So we're about halfway through.
And have you seen how many just composting permits? Just a handful still?
As far as I know, there was only 3 or 4 of them.
Okay. And so there's been staff that are hired through the grant that are there on the weekends to help out. They're also obviously collecting the data, and they'll be reporting out, I imagine, next month. But they've been great, right, Rick?
Yeah, they've been helping out. Joyce has been there selling passes because they couldn't handle any money. So Joyce, and Tiffany, and the 2 helpers from Waste Zero, is it?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Rihanna and John. They've been helping just to hand out the kits and put the kits together and stuff like that. And hand out the applications so people can fill them out before they get up to where they get the kit. So,
Great.
so
Thanks.
everybody will be there one more weekend, and after that, it should slow down probably.
Alrighty. Cemetery update. So we had another, I think, 2 meetings with the cemetery folks, the association, and we were able to, through Warren and Washington, find them a gap filler for a sexton, and asked town council out what their recommendation would be, and pretty much comes down to 2 recommendations. One would be to draft an ordinance to bring to town meeting to create a commission, which would handle all the aspects of the care and maintenance and plots and everything, would be funded through a new budget line in the municipal budget, and the funds from the Kent Cemetery Association, they're, obviously intending to turn those funds over to the town. So that would be a great sort of injection for that first couple of budget years. The other would be to look into the feasibility of regionalizing with other towns through the probate district and create a regional cemetery association. And I finally got that spreadsheet all put together. I think there were 14 or so towns. I'll send it out to you. every town, as you can imagine, every town does it a little bit differently or a little bit the same. There's a lot of private cemeteries that are just run by associations and they have nothing to do with the town. And it ranges all the way to, there's a town, I forget, I think it's Barkhamsted possibly, that they actually contract out the burials to a vendor. But a lot of these cemeteries, especially in the northwest corner, are full. So they're really maintaining a piece of property, where we have cemeteries that have plots that some of them are full, some of them, the cemeteries are not full. So that would be the next sort of step in our conversation. And we have a couple of ordinances that town council would probably use to draft an ordinance for our town. So creating a commission would likely be, pulling some of those association members onto the commission. I don't know if it would be appointed or elected. I haven't dug down that deep into this process yet. So really, we're looking at creating a commission, or the bigger, I think it's more heavy a lift than would need. And I think we'd come to the same conclusion in that regionalization. I think we would conclude that creating a commission would be the way to go through an ordinance. So if you want, I can, can't remember, I think it might have been Winchester. I can send out their ordinance just so you can have a look to see how it's structured and how the commission is structured, what, the different pieces and parts are of how they would run.
Yeah, please do. I'd like to look at that.
My sense is that a regional thing might be very difficult to get to.
Yeah,
'Cause each town said they have their own idiosyncrasies and their own
Yeah.
desires, but
And they're all very, from what I gather, they're just as our association celebrated their 100th year. These are long-standing, commitments by community members, and I'm not sure if they would be ready. I think you would have to be ready to give that, a very, sort of legacy of your town over to a regional option.
right. They're entrenched in their ways.
Trying to be more polite. So I'll send out the ordinance and I'll send out the spreadsheet. And I'd like to get a motion on the table next month to get town attorney to draft an ordinance to get in front of the townspeople. So
Good.
that would be sort of, I think, where we're heading with that. And now that the storm is over, we're at
Is
our
it?
second public comment. And so Ed, were you all set with your that comment from the sidewalk?
I don't see Ed.
Okay, so I'm gonna assume he is.
She-
Tana,
she-
go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted Glenn and Rufus to know that I had prepared the memo along with the hiring policy change. It had been in the public meeting folder at the beginning of the week, but it didn't make the agenda and it's not in there. So if you need a copy of the memo and the proposed changes to the hiring policy, I can get that to you.
Yep, we'll send it, Joyce will send it off to you so that we can get it on the agenda for discussion.
That would be good.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Did I hear somebody else?
Yes, it's Alan.
Hi,
When
Alan, go ahead.
my turn.
Hey, Alan.
Hey,
Hi.
how's everybody?
Good.
I just wanted to make the Board of Selectmen aware that 2 times this past month at emergencies, we had trouble with the state police troop having troopers available to assist us. I did speak to Andrew briefly about it, and this is a patrol trooper, and one of them was for the extended period of wires that were burning, and through 341, for its closure over by Emery Park area, Cedar Mountain Road, which is Route 341. And so the troop had nobody to send. So we were there for quite a period of time. It was Monday evening, not this Monday, the Monday before, at about little after 10 o'clock in the evening. So eventually the DOT came out and put up close signs, but that's still kind of not the best thing to do. You know what I mean? Power company did get there and do a make safe. But then, as I think people know, or that are in the area, the power was out for a huge amount of time. Like over 12 hours, I believe, or something like that. It was, I think more. So just as a point, we were looking for the state police to help assist, with the road closure and be able to potentially take over the road closure. The next one was this past Sunday in the late afternoon, which was the swift water rescue down by Bulls Bridge. They had no one to send to us. Fortunately, the DEP was able to send an NCON police officer. They did not assist with traffic. We need to close down Bulls Bridge Road. The traffic there on a weekend, as people know, it's extensive, everybody going home or coming back or whatever, but that is a very, very, very busy road. So we managed to do it with fire police, with mutual aid from Gaylordsville, and then our own fire police on top of, the rescue. We had multiple towns involved as part of our normal protocol, or my protocol, but the troop wasn't really able to send anybody. The DEP NCON officer did get there and then was able to assist with slight issues that came up concerning personnel that were being rescued and so forth, and bystanders. So I just wanted to make you aware, because I don't know if this is something that is starting to happen more. I mean, we've heard rumors about state police shortages, not that affects, you guys have any control over that, but so I want to make you aware because it's happening. It's not just, it's happened twice now in the past month. And, we are very short-staffed at times. And so when we have to do extended deployment or, problems for traffic, and when you block a road and people are trying to get home, they're not always very nice about it, or don't obey signs. At the Bulls Bridge one, since it is a town road, Rick, thank you. We did get a hold of Rick. Rick did have signs put out right away, and then also called in, I think, somebody on overtime to start to take over, because we didn't know how long we were going to need to have the road closed, with the rescue efforts that we were going on. So that was, again, small town coming together to help. So I just wanted to make sure you are aware of that. And again, thank you to Rick and the town people or town crew that came in. But I don't have any answers right now or anything, but just wanted you to be aware.
Alan, as you were going through that, I was curious whether or not there could be like something where the fire department reaches out for people who either veterans or who could take some sort of a course. So they might not be official fire department members, but they're, able to get a text message saying you're in need and could respond if they're available.
Something like that is possible, Rufus. The state of Connecticut, state law allows for fire police officers. Specifically, they're not law enforcement officers other than traffic authority. And
Right.
So that's not true. I don't know. I don't know whether it's true law enforcement or not, but it's traffic authority officers. There are training classes, certifications, and requirements. And they operate under the direction of the fire chief during emergencies and even non-emergencies where the fire department has been deployed. The statute allows. So we could, if we think there might be a group of people that could, be interested in becoming fire police officers, we could certainly look at I could bring back to our membership for bylaw changes to allow for us a special type of membership specific for that. Because that would be very, very helpful, to be able to have that. Currently, a couple times we've used, and Gene would know a little bit more, we asked about the CERT members, through emergency management. There is a process for they can be deployed. I had set up training last year for some of their CERT officer or CERT members. I think only 3, I could be wrong with the number, but I believe it was 3, maybe 4 of them were only able to take the training. But it is something that there is organized training. There is this for, and certainly would be a huge help to the community.
Yeah, so they would have to be members of the department, right? To have the cover of workers' comp and
And to have the authority, first of all, to have the authority by
Right.
the state statute, yes.
so Rufus, they would have to be within the scope of the fire department so that there are protections for them and for the town in place. That
Right.
It would be
I
covered.
mean, I'm thinking like, like I'm a veteran member, I could have, but I'm not necessarily trained in traffic stuff like
Right,
that.
but-
There might be people who find they're around a lot, they wouldn't mind doing it, and maybe there's, like Alan said, a special designation for people.
Yeah, I think it's very important, and I think you bring up a great point. So if there are either Rufus like yourself, who's before, in the department and now a veteran member, but even just general members of the public that would like to be able to assist, and specific to fire police operations, if they can get in touch with us at the fire department or get in touch with you at the town hall, the Board of Selectmen, then we could get some numbers and see how that would come together, and we certainly can get training going forward. And I would think that the department would support a change in our structure to allow for that to be like a limited membership capacity.
And so, yeah, so under CERT, they would, they have to, a mission request has to get submitted up to Demis. And we've done it for multiple different things, but the CERT team leader has to check with the members of CERT, see who's available in that moment. So on that Sunday, evening, when we were all there at, whatever it was, 6 o'clock at night, 5:30 at night. And then that mission request has to go up to Demis. They have to approve it, which I think they likely would, but there is that, there is a process. So the more nimble version would be to either have people join the fire department and for that assignment, or for the department to create that separate level.
Right. And currently under our active membership, we have people that are, fire police trained, and, in that area, but this would be kind of creating a small group within that. And this way, as you're pointing out, so this way they maybe aren't concerned with going to monthly meetings, multiple
Right.
meetings, going to learning things about, firefighting, interior firefighting, so they have a very specific job, a task, which is, more and more gets called upon more and more and more, to do this. As you're referencing this, the city of Torrington has a fire police unit that goes out even with the paid police department, to assist them pretty regularly. And in that case, so.
In these 2 recent incidents where we didn't get much support from the state trooper system, is this something was this a one-off? Is this because it's the summer? Is this a growing problem that we're having?
So
Well, I
there's
think if I
been
can
a-
just add to that I don't know. And this is where I just think something that maybe the board should maybe inquire and find out. I do know that, there are times we obviously geographically are in the edge you know, and so forth. And so it depends. But I think what's important is that fortunately in this time, this, you know, this was not where it was had to do with, you know, a life safety issue of the state police arrival. We were dealing with life safety issues, but not with the state police arrival. And that could change. You know, we have other situations where, you know, we do wait for a period of time, but at least there's somebody coming, you know, for, let's say, a psychiatric emergency, you know, or something like that. And we stage and wait. And so those times vary. But in this case, as you point out, you know, is it a trend? Is it happening? I don't know. And I don't know what the reasons are. But it's just something that I think as the board of selectmen you should be aware of, and maybe as you're doing now, you know, start asking a couple questions just to see and you know, where that goes.
So there has been a workforce shortage within the state police. I think they're down 30% for troopers of where they should be. And if you've got a big incident, which is, if we were to dig into this, likely what happened, there would, you know, was a big incident either on Route 8 or in another town where they've got to pull, you know, they have their incident command structure that they have to follow. They have you know, this many troopers need to be on hand for, you know, the different types of incidents. It's probably what happened with our patrol trooper who patrols the 3 towns, Warren, Washington, and Kent, either had something in another town or they were pulled out for, you know, a larger incident. So that's likely, you know, what we'll find happen. And, you know, they're already starting at a 30% deficit. So there's, you know, doing an all call or there have been a couple of times, I think 2 times where I've made the request to Andrew to get us a trooper for a specific time frame, and there wasn't. Usually, you know, these folks are getting, you know, trying to get their overtime. They'll always take overtime, but when you see they're not even taking the overtime, but that means that there's just not enough troopers available. So it's a definitely a big system issue right now. There are huge recruitment drives all over social media. I was talking to a trooper just the other day and they were talking about the recruitment that they're doing all over the state.
And Glenn, if I, and Rufus and Gene, if I can just add, you know, the month before, I believe it was in the beginning of June, we had a search and rescue up on St. John's Ledges, the Appalachian Trail, but normally we don't go into the ledges that often for our search and rescues, but we did. And in that case, it was, again, late at night, but they had 2 troopers come down to assist. I requested the state police and they did. There was no DEP working at that time. So they sent 2 troopers. One of them stayed at the command post with me. One went into the woods with the first crew in. And then they sent a 3rd down with a dog out of Troop B up in North Canaan. So that was a time when, you know, they had available and they sent the resources, you know, for that specific area. So as you asked about the trend, you know, I don't know. We had a time a little while ago when there was, you know, plenty there to help us with what we were doing. And actually they went in the woods and so forth. And, you know, but then this not too far apart, you know, with traffic, which is a longer duration and potentially and so forth, but it's an imminent thing. You know, it's happening right there, right now, you know, where the road needs to be, you know, blocked and cut off. So.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
I would encourage, again, getting the word out. Please let us know at the fire department. If people are interested in that, they can, you know, send it to our email address and then to you at town hall. Maybe we can get it from both sides. And I think it would be fantastic if we could move forward with you know, a fire police, you know, unit. I think that would be a great asset to the town, even for other events and functions that happen.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Don't see any other hands up. So I will move to hear a motion to adjourn at 6:32.
So moved.
I'll second that. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the time, everybody hanging out in the waiting room for that executive session very much. All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Thanks, everybody.
good night.
Good
Till next
night.
time.